John Cordy, and today I'm going to be a sneering internet guy, and some of these facts will be wrong, some of them might be right, but it won't matter because the way that I deliver them you won't want to watch anyway, and you won't care to question it, obviously. I posted a video on Reddit the other day and commented on the P90s of this Jazzmasters. I caught some heat for referring to them as P90s, as everyone knows that Jazzmasters have Jazzmaster pickups, not P90s. Upon doing some more research, I found that these are actually built exactly like P90s, or closer to P90s than traditional Jazzmaster pickups, but that was a happy accident. In any case, it prompted me to do some more reading into the history of the Jazzmaster, and so that's what today's video is about. So one of the things about inventors is they tend to do quite a lot of stuff. Some of it you will have heard about, some of it you won't have heard about. Often it's the case that the most famous inventions of theirs overshadow some of the less successful ones. I'm going to refer to Fender guitars as being invented by Leo Fender in this video. I understand he had other people around him as well, and as is often the case with inventors, I think they tend to take credit for other people's work sometimes. So I'm assuming that other people were involved with Leo Fender's stuff, given that he wasn't even a guitarist, which is something I learned and was quite surprised by. So in 1950 and 1951, the Broadcaster and the Esquire were invented, which were basically, I don't have one here on the wall, the Telecaster, oh, something like that. The Telecasters, which is what they would later become known as. So initially the Esquire was a single pickup guitar, the bridge pickup of a Telecaster essentially, and then they put in the neck and called that a Broadcaster, I believe, and then eventually changed the name to Telecaster. And that model has never been discontinued, though I think the Esquire was discontinued in about 1979 when they discontinued a bunch of stuff. Could be wrong, obviously, all of this. The Stratocaster, which is probably Fender's most popular design, I'd say, is certainly my favourite of theirs, and I guess probably has been used by the most kind of iconic guitarists. Stratocaster 1954 was when that was kind of made available, and again that has never been out of production. Probably be worth doing a bit of research on the Stratocaster as well, because that's quite an interesting sort of... Let's talk about some of Fender's other less successful models in this video. Obviously with it in mind that we're at some point going to talk about this Jazzmaster. So in 1956 they brought out the Duo Sonic, which was a two pickup kind of offset design and was designed as a student guitar, is the way that they marketed it. Two pickups, hence Duo Sonic, and that guitar lasted for 13 years. In 1958 the Jazzmaster was released, and the Jazzmaster supposedly was supposed to be their kind of top of the range thing at the time, and was designed to try and attract the jazz crowd, which obviously it failed to do. So from that respect, I would say probably a few failures in the Fender history, and Jazzmaster I guess would be one of those. I guess it would be fair to say that Jazzmaster probably tops that list, given that almost no jazzers play one. So if you're going to call something a Jazzmaster, you probably better hope that someone ends up playing jazz on it. In 1962, the Jaguar was released, which looks kind of quite a lot like the Jazzmaster and shares some things in common with it. That again lasted for 13 years until 1975. The Jazzmaster was discontinued in 1980, by the way. In 1964 we had the Mustang, which superseded the Duo Sonic. So that's kind of the potted history of offset guitars. The Mustang lasted for 22 years. So basically all of their offset guitars were discontinued around the 1980s, which is kind of interesting given how successful the Telecaster and Stratocaster are and how many of these we see around now. It's weird to think that in 1980 they were not even successful enough for them to continue to make them. So I guess that's interesting. I'm just going to quickly talk about the ways that this isn't exactly a Jazzmaster, or is not exactly the same as a normal production Jazzmaster. So first of all, the P90 pickups, which I've mentioned. A normal Jazzmaster has Jazzmaster pickups, which are a slightly different construction, and basically I think the long and short of it is they have less magnets. So the P90 style pickup, I think, is a stronger output than a normal Jazzmaster pickup, I think. Another thing worth mentioning is that we have a Tune-o-matic bridge on here. I believe the Jazzmaster bridge is slightly different. Also, this part of the bridge, I believe, is 1.5 centimeters closer to the neck than an ordinary Jazzmaster would be. I think to increase that break angle and put more downward pressure on the bridge. Our truss adjustment is up here, which I think is one of the really cool things about this guitar. I don't know if anyone knows in the comments or could comment if you know why Fender in their reissues, aside from being historically accurate, choose to put the truss rod adjustment in the neck at this end. Let me know in the comments, because that would be really interesting, because I think that's the one thing that I don't really like about reissue Fender designs. It's just difficult to adjust, and I have to adjust it various times a year. So aside from that, I think this is pretty close to a normal Jazzmaster. Maybe the frets as well, medium jumbo, but probably there aren't many Jazzmasters out there with the original frets now anyway from the first design. And aesthetically, this looks very close to early Jazzmasters. So of all the weird Fender switching designs, I think the Jazzmaster is actually one of the ones that makes more sense. So if we have this switch up, the volume and tone are here, so these will do nothing. And we're just using our neck pickup. And then if we switch down, we engage this circuit, so then these will do nothing. So actually, when you really think about it, these are pretty straightforward. The thing that I end up getting caught out with is that sometimes I'll have these volumes off and stuff, and so you go to switch between, and you might have no sound, although that's a useful little so for that reason, while we're talking about electronics, the pots wired into these guitars are different to the standard pots that Fender use. I'm not entirely sure exactly what the difference is, but I think the higher value pots end up being like a brighter sound, I think. So brighter here on the neck pickup with the high value pots, and darker in this circuit here, and they're both all the way open. So that's kind of the reading and stuff that I've been doing on the Jazzmaster, and I thought it was vaguely interesting. And what I noticed when I'm playing the Jazzmaster, or this, is that the pickups are a little bit more lively than a Strat or a Tele. And so you end up with kind of a lot of clarity, and particularly on the lead circuit. And I don't know if because of this kind of bridge arrangement we seem to have a little bit more of a vibrant and chimey metallic. Kind of tone, I think. Certainly if you strum these you get quite a lot of sympathetic noise, and and that's got to all be part of that guitar sound, I think. So I'm going to spend today playing this. The body was designed, interestingly, to be comfortable sitting down. That is one of the things I think you would notice about a guitar like this. Certainly it feels way more comfortable than a Telecaster sat down. You don't have anything poking into your rib cage, and it balances quite nicely. And I think that's an interesting thing about it. And yeah, I'd say they're really kind of cool guitars, but they do bring definitely something different to the table than your Telecaster and your Stratocaster. And of all the offsets, this is the one that I think suits me the best. If you've got suggestions for really good Jazzmasters to try, or you know, what would be your next kind of thing that you'd buy if you'd already had a Jazzmaster and you're thinking about going further into the Jazzmaster rabbit hole, have you got any suggestions? As an instrument, I really like this one, but I'm interested to know, is there something else I should be looking at next? But hopefully this has been relatively interesting. There's going to be some clips that I'm going to throw together and put throughout the video of playing and seeing what I can come up with this guitar today. But I hope you vaguely enjoyed it, and maybe even found something else that you could Google and enjoy looking into the history of Fender as I did last night and this morning. But yeah, really cool guitars, really cool history, and a very nicely balanced sitting guitar, which as it happens is kind of ideal for playing jazz on, although not many people do. Thank you for watching. If you could like and subscribe, that would really help. Hopefully there's more interesting stuff on the channel, stuff about modelling, stuff about amps, as well as kind of jazz lessons and playing lessons and lick lessons. Trying to show you stuff that I'm enthusiastic about. Hopefully that kind of rubs off a bit. But thank you for watching. I'll catch you for another video soon. Cheers.